Hello everyone, I've been relatively absent on YouTube and Twitter for a while now, and that's for a number of reasons, but I'll cut to the chase and explain them where necessary. This video will be split into two sections: what's up with the Resident Evil style prototype and an update on Update 3 of Nailgame. Feel free to skip to the section you're more interested in, but I would appreciate it if you stayed for the whole video. If you're interested in Nailgame, you'll want to keep an eye out on the prototype, and I'll explain why later on in the video. Just last week, I was playing a bit of Resident Evil 3 Nemesis when I came across a section where both me and Nemesis were going at it. I was far too stubborn to get the grenade cache, and he was far too stubborn to not move out of my way. In fact, he spawned where I wanted to go, and with such low health and no heals or ammo, we reached a stalemate. Anyways, this got me thinking. I was feeling sick and didn't want to waste any time working on Nailgame if I knew I wasn't going to make any substantial progress. So why don't I challenge myself to recreate the mechanics of the classic Resident Evil games? And thus, Occupant Depravity was born. In the first 4 days, I got a lot of progress done. I was rapidly iterating on it and went very smoothly. By that point, most of the mechanics were already in place apart from some buttons, the UI, and everything to do with the inventory. The footage you're seeing in the background is what I've been privately streaming so I could have something to show while I'm waffling on. Anyways, by day 6, the only thing left was the fabled inventory. I was going to start working on it at the end of the day, but unfortunately I was hit by a community guideline strike for streaming and vibing to myself apparently. It was probably some music that triggered it, but I listened to the same stuff all the other days, so who knows. The appeal got rejected, by the way. Right now it's literally a Resident Evil clone, made in 1 week or however many hours I've worked on it, not counting sleep or any breaks. I could have stopped there, but I did not. What I'm currently thinking is, I'll use Occupant Depravity as a practice run for Nailgame. Sure, they're different in many obvious ways, but I feel like this game will help me understand level design, sound design, some form of art style, pipelines, workflows, you name it. This game will run so Nailgame can walk. This brings me over to my next point. Why should anyone who is interested in Nailgame really give a damn about Occupant Depravity? Well, it's because they'll be set in the same world. It'll essentially act as an appetizer. I've always wanted to make worlds filled with different games and stories of different genres to build one big story. This game has opened the door for that. With this plan, I can help introduce players to certain concepts within Nailgame's world. Contrary to popular belief, nails aren't actually significant in Nailgame's story. There's a lot more going on in the background. Furthermore, I can reuse assets from this game, assuming the art style will be similar. Working on this game over the past week has felt amazing for me. I've learned so much about Unreal Engine, tricks and concepts I can use in Nailgame to help speed up development and more. When I feel burnt out of working on one game, I'll swap to the other. We'll probably see update videos for both games from now on. So, Nailgame Update 3, the combat update. Right after I posted my last video about the game, I had to spend a couple of months to revise for exams. So, Update 3 has been a relatively recent development on the game, if you're wondering why I've been so silent on it. Technically, in a way, Update 3 is ready to an extent. The combat is there, the most basic of combat with the typical fodder, filler enemies, it's all there and it works. Admittedly, it is quite fun too, and that's always a good sign. Another major aspect I've been reworking is the reload mechanic. You know the stuff you saw in that week of improvements video? Yeah, it hasn't aged too well. You see, someone on my Discord server, which is something you should absolutely join if you want to hear and see everything I'll be saying here early, mentioned the idea of being able to select what nails you wanted in a disc, and obviously I have entertained that idea before, but I couldn't really figure it out in my head at the time. At some point near my exams or during them, I started working on the new reload mechanic because I don't know what priorities are. It took quite a bit of planning on the programming side, as well as how it will visually be reflected to the player. Should I have picked UI or a 3D model to display the nail disc you're customizing? I'm still a dumbass when it comes to Unreal's UMG, so I opted for a 3D model. And at the current moment in time, I don't really like how it looks, but it works mechanically with a few bugs here and there. Whenever I design something, I always try to make it as modular and dynamic to expand upon and use, so that any designer, aka me, can forget about doing any of the hard work. It just works. Thankfully, this system is easy to use, and it's relatively easy for the player to understand even without any hints. So, how does it work? Instead of throwing out the discs like you saw in the old video, contextually in the story, the Nailgun was never ever mass produced, and only a couple of them exist in the world, literally. Or should I say, in the Cowardly facility. Anyways, it wouldn't make sense for there to be any nail discs other than the ones you initially find alongside the Nailgun. Currently you can only carry 5 discs, and you can decide in which order they are loaded in for when you need to press reload. Once you reload, your current disc gets moved to the back of the set, and the next one in line will get loaded in. If you shoot all the nails from a disc and then you press reload, it will be moved to a separate set of discs which can't be loaded in unless you place some nails on them. And this is done so it doesn't affect the flow of the game in the heat of the moment. Obviously there is no moment like that exists currently, but I can imagine. When you open up the disc customization menu, your active disc will be displayed front and center. From here you'll be able to access different bags that hold the appropriate nail. You can left click to drag and drop a singular nail, move it around, or swap it with another. You can also right click and drag on the bag itself to carry the bag onto a slot. If it is dropped on a single slot, whatever resides in that slot will be replaced with the appropriate nail in the bag. If you right click and drag the bag onto multiple slots, only the slots affected will be replaced by the appropriate nail. You can also rotate the disc itself to, rotate the disc and change which nail you want to start shooting from. On the right hand side you'll see the other 4 discs you have as well as the nails attached to them. From here you'll be able to swap the order, select and customize that disc, or set it as your active disc. I can't show you that yet because I haven't entirely finished that part. As for the AI you've been seeing, it's the culmination of a week or so's worth of work. It's the classic run towards the enemy and attack them until they die sort of enemy, but with a twist depending on where you'll be in the game, which I don't really want to spoil right now. Arcane's cancelled Return to Ravenholm project left a big impression on me, enough to make me change this game's course from a horror game to more of a mix between the two. You see this amazing clip of this zombie? First thing I did with the AI was recreate the pinning system from Ravenholm, with a few twists of my own. For instance, some of them might be clever enough to know your intentions and avoid your shots. These guys are relentless, so you need to be careful. There's no easy way of knowing which enemy will have this behavior. You can pin their arms and legs only when it makes sense though. Give it enough time, they'll unpin themselves or do something else, which I don't really want to spoil just yet. Depending on the nail that pins it down, it may react differently. If you're in range of a melee attack, you'll get pushed back slightly. I was experimenting with a health system that wasn't bog standard as well, but there's not much done on that end other than planning, so I can't really show you anything to do with that either. Something you very, very likely noticed, unless you're blind and deaf. Something you very, very likely noticed is that everything here is lacking something. This same reason is why I haven't made a definitive Update 3 video just yet. And no, it's not even about the custom models and materials that I'm mostly worrying about. It's the animations. I'm personally sick of constantly seeing the same default animations all the time. It feels so stale right now. This applies for both the enemy and the player. However, while I am excited to work on animations with a friend of mine, I've also realized that there are many, many more bones on a human than a head grab. And believe me, I was good with the head grab. But I'm abysmal with humans. So, I'll keep moving until all my humanoids are animated. And oh yeah, those custom models. There's a reason I guess I'm hesitant. I want the game to look like a game when I release the Update 3 video, meaning a map and a small art pass will need to be done. The quicker I understand both the animation and art pass workflows, the better for all of us. So that's about it for Update 3 itself. However, that's not all I want to mention. You know, a lot of people ask me, what do you actually do in Nailgame? And that's a valid question. But I can say the same thing about what do you actually do in Half-Life, what do you actually do in Doom? Well, in this game, there's a story behind everything. It's a linear game. The story drives you, the protagonist, forward. If you need to kill things to progress, you'll kill things. If you come across a puzzle, you'll solve it. If you need to run away from something, you'd best value your life and run away. A lot of the work on the story has been worked on recently, and while I still haven't got a full story outline down at all, I do have bits and bobs of it. I've also got someone helping me with some story elements, and we think things through together. I've also got some new concept art pieces done for the game, thanks to the talented John Freeman, of which I won't fully share in this video because I want to keep the full reveal as its own thing. I've also organised a Trello board for the ideas suggested on my Discord server. I've had a lot of fun transforming the vague ideas into lore-corrected versions that will fit seamlessly into the game's context and story. And I guess I haven't really planned what sort of things will be in store for Update 4. I just want to focus on this one for now. And I mean, that's about it for this video. That's about it for the update on Update 3 and this new game project I've started and announced at the same time, basically. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.